Today on The New Wood Yard, we're going to talk about the number one myth that I see come up on my channel over and over and over. It happens at least every other day. And that's been going on for 5 years now. It's amazing. So there's many myths that I see come up on my channel in the comments and things that some of these people say. I don't know where they get them from. I don't know what they're thinking, but they must have been told by someone that had authority in their life that told them, hey, this is a thing. You should be afraid of this, or you should be concerned of this. And I think it maybe happened when they were a small child and they were very gullible maybe in believing this person, or this person was a person of authority and so they just took it for fact when it's not. And we're going to talk about some of them, but I got one in particular that you got to hear because it happens all the time. So like I said, there's many myths, and I'm going to talk about a few different ones here, and we'll get to the number one. The first one I talk about is Osage orange. I've seen this in the comments a lot of times that you cannot put it in a wood stove because it will melt the stove. Or if you put more than one piece in, it will melt the stove. And I don't know why they think that, because if there was a case of that, you'd see pictures of melted stoves, I would think, but I've never seen one. No one's ever proven to me that that happens. Now I know because I have a small wood stove that I burn in my tent. It's a wall tent. It's a 4-season tent for winter camping. And it's a small, I think it's 12 by 12 by 24, and it's all detachable, everything folds up. But I take it when we go hunting, or if I'm on a camping trip, we've taken it and cooked on it and had fires. And if I fill that baby full and get it really going, the top half and the back end, where the chimney goes up the back of the pipe, it will get red hot. I can get it to where it's glowing, like it lights the room up, it glows so much, which is probably a little bit overboard. But when it's below zero and you're trying to stay warm, especially at like a scout camp I've been at, and I've camped in 20-some below actual temperature weather, and you got to get up every couple hours and put a couple sticks in because otherwise it gets cold fast. I've had it glowing, but I've never melted it. And that's thin metal. So an actual wood stove melting, I don't think so. I think what they might be thinking of is that you get a grate in the bottom of a stove sometimes, that if you burn really hot stuff for a very long time and you drop wood onto it, that metal can actually start to sag. It's not really melting, it's just getting soft, and it'll sag down on you. And over a long period of time, those grates can actually get, I wouldn't say burned out, but what happens is they get many little pieces chip off of them over a long period of time, and eventually they just degrade down to nothing and they kind of disappear. So they're not really burning. Maybe they're burning, I don't know, but I've had to replace grates in fireplaces and in stoves before because the grates will eventually wear out. So it can happen. Another one that I hear all the time, I'm sure you guys have seen it, that wet or green wood is perfectly okay to burn in a wood boiler. It'll burn, but that doesn't mean you should. Like the old saying goes, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And they'll say, oh, that wet wood, it lasts longer. Well, it lasts longer because it's not burning very well. You might not realize this, but when firemen go to fires, do you know what they use to put fires out with? Water. You know what's in that wood that's green? Water. Did you think of that? So if you have really wet wood, very green wood, it can be 35, 37, 38, 40, 42% moisture content. Something like red oak, cottonwood, some of the wood that has a high moisture content. It'll burn because if you get a good enough bed of coals and enough other wood burning, enough other flames around it, it will burn. And yeah, it'll burn slower. But you're losing heat because all that moisture has to be burnt off before it can burn, and then all the gases that should be getting burnt are going up the chimney, up the flue, and that's how you get creosote. But there's a lot of people that don't get that, but it's a fact. You have to burn twice as much wood if it's wet than if you burn dry wood. So maybe you just want to, you like cutting wood. If you like cutting a lot of wood, you want to cut more and more. Maybe you should only burn green or wet wood, because then that would get you, more exercise, I guess. Another one that goes right along with this is that big wood's better than small wood. Maybe. But there's a lot of people that burn big wood that don't even realize the center of that wood, if it's a big full round that's 20 inches, the center of that is wet. And they think it's better because it lasts longer. Again, that goes kind of back to the green wood thing. Versus if they take the same size piece of wood, split it up into 6, 7, 8 pieces, and if they did that, you're still going to have the same amount of fuel because it's the same amount of wood, just in smaller pieces. And if you have any form of a damper control, or if you've got an airflow control, if you've got a more of a modern high efficiency stove, you're actually going to get more heat out of that smaller wood than the big wood. I know that might hurt your brain, but it is a fact. And I know people fear facts just like they fear feelings. Don't be hurt. Don't cry. It's going to be okay. The wood that is driest puts out the most heat. It doesn't really matter if it's big or small. If it's dry, you're going to get more heat from it. It actually burns better and more efficiently. And if you question that, you want to watch some videos that I've seen lately. I saw Dan at Back 40 do something with a big chunks of wood versus small chunks of wood. I've watched Jack on Log Cabin Firewood with his new wood stove, a high efficiency one, where he has smaller pieces and how good they burn and how much heat he gets out of them and for how long it burns. There's something called science you might want to check into if you really think wet wood is better or if you think big wood is better, because the weight is what matters if you take the moisture out. Now, if you take 30 pounds of, say, 8 pieces of wood, and you take a 30-pound chunk, and they're equally dry, you're going to get the same amount of energy out of it. Because a gallon of gas, or if you take 8 cups and put all of the gas for a gallon into different sized, same size cups, but it's still a gallon, you're still going to get the same amount of energy out of it. So you got to think about that kind of stuff. So especially if you have an inefficient old-fashioned stove, you want as dry wood as possible. Same as the high efficiency ones. Dry wood is better. Number 6 is another one that comes up all the time. Oak is the best wood there is. It's good wood. Maybe in your area it's the best wood, but it's not the best wood. It's okay wood. It's not average, but it's a little above average. There's lots of wood that actually puts out more heat than oak. And oak has something about it that a lot of people don't like, especially people that sell wood. It takes a long time to dry. It's a slow drying wood. So as far as selling wood, oak's not necessarily the best. And it's good wood, and it lasts a long time as far as in dry form. You can store it for quite a long time. It won't rot down on you like some certain species will. It's good wood, but it's not the best. We call them oak snobs or wood snobs. Here's an example of a few kinds of wood I wrote down so I could get the numbers right here that are better than oak. Let's start on the low end. Oak puts out 23 to 24 million BTUs for white and red oak. Now on here I have, let's start at 27 million BTUs. So that would make it 10% better than oak. 10%, that's the starting point. Mesquite, pinyon pine, black birch, ironwood, locust, black or honey, hickory. Those are all 26, 27. All those are better than oak. Above that, I'm sorry, I should back up here. Blue beech, another one at 27. Here's another one that is 26 or 27, according to everything I researched. Applewood and mulberry are 26, 27 million BTUs per full cord. Then there's some that are just as good as oak, same range as far as BTUs. Yellow birch, hard maple or sugar maple or rock maple, whatever you prefer to call it. They're all about the same as oak. So there's that. Then next after that, going up the scale for the really good stuff, we have almond wood and eucalyptus wood. 33 million BTUs. So what is that, 30% better than oak? And then another one right in that range, Osage orange, 32 to 33 million BTUs. Quite a bit more than oak. And then the winner is an actual oak. Oh, this actual winner, live oak, 36 million BTUs. But that's mainly way, way down south. It's not really in northern part of the United States anyway. So, and I know where you live, it might be different. I know where you live, there might be different kinds of wood. I know where you live, you might be in a different country or hemisphere or continent. You're going to have a variety of wood. But in your area, burn the best wood you can get. In a lot of places, that happens to be a different kind of wood that is it's going to be the number one thing we talk about. The next one is seasoned wood. A lot of people think seasoned wood means that if you cut it and split it and store it for one season, meaning spring, summer, winter, fall, you store it for one of those seasons and it's seasoned. It has nothing to do with the seasons. Seasoned, what it really means, and it's not salt and pepper. I know I've seen that joke 1,000 times. What it means is that is cut, split. Well, it doesn't have to be split, cut or split. I mean, you can take a tree, and it could be fully seasoned, meaning that it is as low in moisture content as that it is going to get. It has reached an equilibrium with the atmosphere, which is somewhere in the mid-teens percentile of moisture content. It could be anywhere from 17 to 13%, 12, maybe 11 in some very dry areas, maybe even into the single digits. But around here, once wood gets to be about 13, 14%, that's about as low as it's going to go. And I'm in Wisconsin, Midwest, and a lot of you tell me the same thing. Once it gets in that mid-range, that's about all you're going to get out of it, which is dry. That's fully seasoned wood. So to me, and I know a lot of you have said this to other people I've talked to, fully seasoned means that it is dry and ready to burn now at its lowest moisture content. That's fully seasoned. Partially seasoned to me means that it's below, say, 30 to 25%, somewhere in there is partially seasoned. Well seasoned is below 20%. Fully seasoned means it's as dry as it's going to get. I could be wrong, but that's just what I have in my mind. Tell me if I'm crazy. Some of you think I am, and I'm okay with that. No big deal. Another one that comes up all the time. People think that softwood means that the wood is soft. That has nothing to do with it. There's soft maple, which is a hardwood. There's willow, which is very soft. It's a hardwood. There is box elder. It's a hardwood. Aspen or poplar. It's a hardwood. Cottonwood. Hardwood. Just because they're softer, lighter, lower BTUs doesn't make it a softwood. The difference between hardwood and softwood, as far as the technical name and technical definition, is that softwoods are evergreens, pines, spruce, cedar, fir trees, all the kind of trees that are evergreens. Those are softwoods. And there's nothing wrong with them. Hardwoods, by definition, are deciduous trees, which means they have leaves and they shed them every year, and they lose them and then they start over in the spring. That's a deciduous tree. There's one weird one though, it's tamarack. It's kind of an in-betweener, but it's considered an evergreen, even though it's not evergreen because it loses its needles and grows new ones, but it's considered an evergreen. I've looked up lots of different information on it, and that's where most people agree that's what it is. But there's been arguments. I'm sure somebody will disagree. Another one that comes up all the time is that free wood is the best wood. It's nice to have free wood, but I have found that free wood a lot of times means there's a lot of work involved with it, especially if you've got to go to someone's property and they got a tree in their backyard and there's no way to get to it other than carrying it piece by piece out of there, and you got to cut it down, and there's telephone wires, there's power lines, there's fences, there's neighbors, there's houses, there's garages, there's sheds. And the reason it can be free is they want you to do all the work to get rid of their tree that they got a quote on for, say, $2,000 or $3,000 from a tree service. That's why it's free. It's not so free. Then the other free wood is tree service wood that you might get dropped off at you, and it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. I like it. But sometimes you get the big uglies, the stuff that you literally have to use a tractor or skid steer to move because it's 40, 50, 60 inches around, and there's nothing you can do to it other than to whittle it down into small pieces. So it comes with a price, which is labor, work, time. So free isn't necessarily always free. And sometimes you're going to get junk too. You're going to get limbs, you're going to get branches, you're going to get leaves, you're going to get bark, you're going to get dirt, you're going to get mud, you're going to get all the goodies that come along with it that you got to clean up. So it's not necessarily free. There's work involved. The next myth that I hear all the time is that you have to stack your wood to dry it. No, you don't. It looks nice when you stack it. You know how much you've got. It's organized, it's neat, it's clean, it saves space. Yeah, those are all true. But wood will dry whether it's stacked or unstacked. The key to drying wood is time. That helps a lot. That's one of the things. Airflow and some warmth. Airflow is probably number one in my book, and then time, and then sun. Because I have wood that I have cut in the wintertime, and it dries. Because I see frost coming out of the kerfs quite often on a frosty night after I've cut. So the moisture is actually coming out of the wood. So airflow and time are the big ones. And then some warmth. The more sun, the better. In the open. Less shade as possible. Those matter a lot. And the number one thing that I hear the most, see the most in the comments, and people argue the most about, some of you already know what I'm going to say. Pine. You cannot burn pine in a house. You can't burn a fireplace. You can't burn pine in a stove. Your house will explode. It'll start on fire. You're going to have a chimney fire. That pine creates creosote because of all the sap in there. You're going to have a fire in the chimney. Your house will die. You're going to die tonight. Don't burn that wood. That's false. Very false. Number one, all wood burns. Pine is fine in my book. And there's a lot of places in the world, not just in North America, specifically in North America, the western states, north of us, our cousins to the north, Canada, up in Alaska, and much of Europe. All they have is softwoods, pines, spruces. They have evergreen. They have cedar. They have fir. That's all they have. That's the only wood they have. And you know what? If that truly was the fact that those people are going to have creosote and their house is going to burn down if they burn pine, you'd have hundreds of deaths daily from houses burning down, wouldn't you? I mean, think about it. And the number one reason why a lot of those people believe that is they've been told that because a relative, father, uncle, grandpa, whatever, had an issue. And this is the reason they had the issue. And I know this for a fact because it happened to my dad when I was a kid. We burned wet wood all winter long. So we had creosote buildup because of the moisture and the chemicals that the wood puts off that aren't being burned going up the chimney, and it made creosote in the chimney. And then we ran out of that green wood. You know what we burned next? Pine. And when we put that pine in there, the pine was dry and the flames were shooting up high. It burns hot, fast, high flames, and it lit the creosote on fire, and we had a chimney fire. The creosote was there. The pine just ignited the creosote that was there. I have talked with many people in the industry that clean chimneys, fix fireplaces, and they tell me the same thing all the time. The kind of wood you burn determines if you're going to have issues or not. And the number one thing that you got to do is burn dry wood. They know that it's not the sap in the pine, it's not the pine that creates it. The pine might ignite the problem at the end. I mean, it happens all the time. If you talk to people that fight fires, they'll say, oh yeah, a chimney fire. That creosote didn't just happen because they burned pine one night. The creosote was there, burning a hot, high flamed fire with the pine because that's what they had, ignited the fire. So pine is fine. And there's a lot of people, that's all they have is pine. Nothing wrong with pine. That's all I got for today, folks. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. with another video. Right now, go watch some more of them. There's 2,000 waiting for you. Good night, Irene.